let's just have some fun for now. I want to check out this video by... I have no idea how you read this channel name. Nightwa Freddy or something like that. I have no idea how you pronounce that name. And it's what I'm assuming is a little animated video about living in rural Africa that I low-key have been meaning to want to look at, and it's a story time animation, like similar to Jaden animations and stuff like that. So I actually, just out of curiosity, I want to see what it's like to live there.
I was born and raised in Africa my entire life.
You don't seem to have
I've experienced
nice dancing whatevers.
both this Africa.
No, that's the that's the irony about Africa. Whenever like you have some people try to portray Africa as like being like all like rural and all like, I'm sure some people have an quote unquote idea about what Africa is like, even though they have plenty of cities there that are like you would swear would be found in other parts of the world.
And this Africa.
And that this is what most people think of when they think Africa.
Oh, what is that? Is that?
And water. Nah, Mr. Beast ain't shit.
Is that water? No way. Oh,
I mean, it's not like there's rivers everywhere.
Is that a building?
Here we go. Now this is how you use a soundboard because Hamas Diddy bin Laden Adolf Epstein Piker does not know how to use it. And neither does Sneeko. They ain't shit.
The popular belief, Africa, a continent by the way.
Yeah, it's a continent. No. I remember some meme post about someone asking, name one country in Africa, and then someone said, Wakanda? Safe to say, some people just don't know. I can name most countries in Africa, and I can usually do it in a I usually do it in a counterclockwise sort of fashion.
It's for the most part filled with bustling cities throughout.
Yes, and it's full of, yes, it's got plenty of stuff going on there. I mean, the guy that made my VTuber model is from Nigeria, so they clearly have all of the modern amenities that we have here in the rest of the world. It's just there are some parts of Africa that don't necessarily have all of those advantages, either because they might be too far away from major cities, or maybe it's a Sudan, Somalia type situation where they're just at war all the time.
Thriving economies, huge cultural diversity, and most importantly, we have water.
We have water. No, Mr. Beast. No, Mr. Beast make believe that he's making the world a better place by building 1,000 wells, and people call him like a white savior and all that. Okay, now, oh, you mentioned like the cultural diversity. Africa has a lot, and I mean a lot of genetic diversity as well. There's more genetic diversity within Africa than there is between Europe and Asia, and it has to deal with the fact that they've been there for hundreds of thousands of years, and Africa, knowing the different types of biomes there, lots of natural barriers allows for that kind of diversity. Whereas like Europe and Asia, well, there's a giant steppe plain that exists that spans between Eastern Europe and Mongolia, so that checks out.
But on the other side, we also have rural Africa, one of the most misunderstood places on Earth.
Yeah.
Thanks to the media.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate.
That's why you have me.
Let's go. Let us get the real Africa, and not the Africa that the media wants us to believe.
We'll be covering everything from stereotypes that just simply aren't true to the first-hand experience of living in rural Africa with all its pros and cons.
Let's go.
I'm someone who's experienced both that rural life and that city life extensively.
Yeah, I've never, personally in my life, I've always been a suburban type of guy. I don't ever remember, well, I've lived in a city for like a year at best, but I've always grown up in suburbia, and it's okay.
I also have my dad who grew up in the villages of a small region in Tanzania called Singida.
Okay, so so you're Tanzanian?
He also
What's your ethnicity though? There's like a ton of them.
has countless stories of just how incredibly difficult it was growing up for him.
I'd
They had
imagine.
to sleep on freaking cow skin on the floor, no bed. Granted, this was rural Africa in like the 70s and 80s. But a lot still applies today. Manual labor was brutal for him, but
I'd imagine that it'd be the same way in like other parts of the world that are mostly rural. I mean, knowing that you have to tend to all the the livestock, plants, crops, and all that, I'd imagine that it'd be pretty hard, especially like back in like older times. Like I don't want to. I was going to say the old days, but that's a very, very broad blanket term, so it's not very specific.
wasn't endless. Devastating beatings from his parents were frequent,
Oh,
but
Lord.
never overwhelming. At least most of them weren't.
Well, shit.
There were
Okay.
days where food wasn't guaranteed. Farms hadn't yielded enough food. Rain hadn't showed up in months. Safety.
Well, yeah, when you live, like, within that part of the world, like in the Sahel, especially, and then the savannah, it's like, it's not quite wet enough to warrant a lot of rain, but it's also not quite dry enough that there isn't.
And survival from unknown diseases wasn't guaranteed either.
Yeah.
But you know what was guaranteed? A sense of peace and community so strong, it would always make these life-threatening circumstances feel like nothing more than just a casual part of their daily lives.
Yeah, that's the irony. A lot of these places, especially that are more like tribal, they tend to be very tightly knit.
No matter the circumstances, it is undeniable that the folks of rural Africa dwell in a level of peace and gratitude that we city
Let's
folks
go.
have just grown foreign to.
No shit. No, you go to the city and everyone's busy doing something, and so they don't really take the time to pay attention to their neighbors. Even nowadays here, I mean, granted, I know that my mom is keeps up as part of a neighborhood Facebook group, but we don't really interact with our neighbors. I mean, my siblings are friends with, I think, some of them. They like to go to the park sometimes, or they go to movies, but obviously nowhere near to the extent as some place like this.
I've been to my father's village many times, and once you get away from the city and enter these places, even the air feels 10 times cleaner.
I'd imagine, yeah, being in a city, knowing that there's all sorts of, well, here in the US, it's not cool. I was going to say factories or whatever, but like smog is a thing that exists within cities because that's just kind of how it is, but you know.
Your mind clears up instantly. It's like
No, I was going to mention that like there are certain like zoning laws in the US that made it so that major businesses couldn't operate in residential areas. Now, that's kind of a case-by-case business because I've seen it here, but you know.
the environment
So they can't really have like factories in the same places as that.
itself puts you into a meditative state.
Yeah.
Everyone's smiling, and if not, well, they will be pretty soon.
Let's go.
You turn left, and there are the village women huddled up around the kitchen, passionately preparing food for the entire family and
And watch someone say that this is sexist.
neighboring houses. You turn right, and there's your chubby friend with the rest of the young adults returning home
Let's go.
successful.
Yeah, our big guy.
Session.
Resident big guy.
As you see them, you begin to get excited. Tonight we'll be slaughtering a cow and
Oh.
barbecuing it for dinner.
Yeah, I'd
And
imagine.
as you eat the cow with
Yeah, and it's fresh.
your boys by the campfire, the cool village breeze hits your face, and your grandpa arrives. He taps you on your shoulder and nudges you to go sit next to him so
Oh, that's so wholesome.
you can listen to hours
Hours of Pokemon stories.
worth of village lore.
No, I like low-key. I would like to learn more about African folklore. I bet it would be very, maybe not necessarily. I mean, it would be enlightening, but it would give me some perspective on how it connects to like the wider world. Because like religions and mythologies have all sorts of subtle connections that make you wonder what the original story of mankind really was.
Passed down from his forefathers and now unto you.
Let's go. I wish I had that kind of story to pass down. I mean, if society finally falls apart the way that people seem to like preaching that it will, for better or for worse, then I'll definitely have a lot of stories that I feel that personally would be worth preserving.
It doesn't get much better than this, man. Because rural Africa isn't just a place.
Right.
It's an experience.
I
and
bet.
I just hope this video
I mean, one of the things that I wish I could do is just travel the world and see whatever there is to see. Not go to any tourist traps or stuff like that. I mean, maybe visit them like once, and then I would like to go off the beaten path and find places that the only other person that would have found them is Geography Now, whenever he does his Geography Go stuff. I want to visit those kinds of places, the places that nobody has ever heard of, just so I can get a real, raw experience. That would be so much fun. Although, I'd have to worry about endemic diseases and possible street food poisoning.
Can help illustrate it for you. By the way, shout out to Lukisa, Ringo, and Keegan for inspiring this video.
Let's go.
All right, number one, we do not have water. Honestly, man.
There's plenty of water. It's just you gotta know where to look for it. And there's rivers everywhere. There's the Congo River, the Niger River, the fucking Nile River, the longest river in the world.
And we kinda don't. Now, there's nuance to that. We do have water. It's just not always clean.
Right. Yeah, you have to like actively clean it up. It's all muddy and shit.
The tap water systems in Africa are some of the most unreliable systems to ever be created by mankind.
Right.
It's got
No, I just got reminded of this one video I watched. I don't remember if it was in I don't remember if it was in a cooking class or if it was on my own time. But I remember seeing footage of some small town somewhere here in the US, and the water was so bad that you could literally light it on fire. And then it would just do that.
to a point where
But I don't know if that kind of water exists here, but you know. And then I think I've mentioned this before, but there's a river in China that's so terribly polluted by a local factory that it changed the chemical composition of the water, so it's not technically water anymore.
they exist just for show, because in some regions, you'll be lucky if the tap has running water for even just one day out of every week. I am not exaggerating. The street
bet.
I live in literally only gets water for one day out of every week, even though we literally live next to a lake, and
Really?
not just any lake. Lake Victoria, bro.
Lake Victoria. That's the source of that's generally considered to be the source of the Nile.
The largest lake in Africa.
No, if you can't get running, obviously, if you live right next to the lake, it would clearly be much more convenient to just go directly to the lake instead of having to rely on some pipes that probably aren't even going to work.
It's truly disgusting how the government would much rather spend money on buying hundreds of luxury cars.
No shit. This is your average Serbian politician be like.
For them and their entire clans.
No shit. No, and so a lot of and clans, yes, there's a lot of tribal politics that goes on. The Somali community in Minnesota is notorious for letting their tribal affairs dictate their political views.
Instead of providing a daily source of water to its citizens, this leaves most people having to
He got so heated that even his audio quality changed.
acquire water through the
Why are we using Al Jazeera of all things?
community wells, rivers, and random ponds in the middle of nowhere, as
Yeah.
well as the infamous water sachets that Lukisa spoke about. And when times get real tough, you better run to your ancestors and hope they can teach you that rain dance, because
Let's go. No, I know of a certain Navajo rain dance, except I don't remember. We need to use this other Native American remembering dance. But then we have to but I don't remember that one. So now we have to do the irony dance, which requires the rain dance.
you don't need to make it rain, my boy. Number two, rural Africa is poor as fuck, bro. A lot of people seem to
I mean, kinda, yeah.
think the village life is all about extreme poverty, hunger, and desperation. And while poverty does exist, everything is relative.
Yeah, it's always like that.
Rural Africans may make only a fraction of the income that someone in the city makes, but their living expenses are often way lower than someone in the city.
Right, it's relative. So sometimes some people just don't need that much money, and so it doesn't really bother them as much as it would other people that are in like higher stations.
city, so much so actually that the villagers end up having an easier time getting by than someone in the city.
Yeah, especially since like a lot of them tend to be more self-reliant, so they don't really need to rely on things like grocery stores to help them get by. They already have all the resources that they need.
Provided you got yourself a few cows or a small piece of land where you
Right.
can farm adequately, you will get by. And it's not like everyone's just out in the grueling hot sun farming all day. A
Yeah.
lot of people own shops and other small scale
Right. Yeah, they've got their own things going on.
businesses that raise
So
the
it's not really
overall
that big a
economy
deal
of
for
a
them.
given region. Honestly, the most overpowered aspect of living in Africa is the unbreakable sense of community.
Right.
Villages in Africa are made up of very strong community support systems. Resources are pooled together and shared across a community rather than having everyone fend for themselves. And
Yeah.
I genuinely think this is the coolest part of rural Africa. As difficult and as grueling
Yeah, they're all working together. Obviously, the strength in numbers. That's basically what it is, strength in numbers.
as the physical labor of having to work and farm can be, the fact that you're never alone on those hot, sunny days of manual labor makes it infinitely better. Number
Yeah.
3, rural life is uncivilized.
That's not true at all. They've got generate. I'm pretty sure there's generations of like protocol that they've been following for who knows how long.
Bro, until I watched similar
Oh
videos.
my god, what is this? No, sorry, AI, get that out of here. We haven't looked at one of these compilations in months now, and quite frankly, I don't really want to look at them.
I did not even realize that this idea
Oh, the audio quality is back. Wait, was that on my end or was that on his end?
that Africans ride lions and
No. There's a reason why they never domesticated zebras. Zebras are just, compared to horses, which they're related to each other, obviously, but compared to horses, zebras are much harder to tame. And like hell, anyone would be caught dead riding a lion like that.
zebras in the wild was so prevalent. And I'm not even mad at this, bro. This shit's honestly hilarious. Some
Yeah.
of these AI videos keep me up at night dying of laughter.
I'd imagine, but those didn't necessarily make me laugh. They just made me confused.
To be honest, you can't tell me not a single African in the past 5 years had tried riding a zebra
Oh, Lord.
in the wild. I will not have it. Humans will forever be humans.
True.
But this idea of
That's why I'm a raccoon.
rural Africa being uncivilized, it's simply not correct.
It's
It
not.
is very much civil.
Not unless you are... There are some people, I'm not going to name any names, that would beg to differ simply because they're too used to their own luxuries. But I don't want to come across as woke in that regard, so you'll just have to make do with what you got.
Civilized, just not in the Eurocentric way that everyone is used to.
Yeah.
By heavily leaning into ancient culture, traditions, and spirituality, chaos is alleviated and a sense of order is born. Within
Oh,
this order lies deep, vast, and often inaccessible knowledge to most people about the land
my water bottle cap just fell to the floor.
and nature in general. People then use this knowledge to align their lives accordingly. This is
Right.
why rural places have such thriving wildlife and nature. Our order and civilization comes from simply aligning with Mother Nature
I imagine that.
instead of destroying it. It's just a shame that this in itself is viewed as primitive and uncivilized by others. Though
It's also viewed as woke sometimes.
nowhere near as much as modern places, rural areas still produce doctors, teachers, engineers, and overall wisdom about the land. In a
Yeah.
previous video, I spoke about the countryman. He's a prime example of the average rural African. And so while rural African people use motorbikes, bajajis, and bicycles as the main mode of transport instead of riding lions, they also have effective social systems such as village governments and committees.
Yeah, that's another thing that happens. Like, within some of these countries, because they were drawn by, like, a lot of the borders in Africa are drawn by, like, colonial powers from Europe. Well, some of the things that happened is that there are a lot of, like, local chiefs and maybe even kings and stuff that they usually keep to their own devices and govern their local communities while still answering to whatever the central government is, or either that, or they kind of just have more like ceremonial rule the way that the King of England does. But I don't know where I was going. I knew where I was going with that, but I kind of lost track.
Committees, I don't know how to say that, bro, led by the elders and other competent individuals in order
Yeah, yes, central governments of these countries will usually let like local communities like govern themselves. So it's just much easier. I guess it's much easier that way. They're usually more concerned with what goes on in the capital anyway.
order to govern their people. Number 4, no technology or internet.
No, they have technology, that's for sure. Otherwise, my VTuber model wouldn't exist.
See, this one isn't true either. In fact, I've yet to be in a rural place in Africa that's completely devoid of technology and internet.
No, the Wild Thornberries made a joke about this where they tried to come into contact with what they assumed was an uncontacted tribe somewhere in South America, only to find out that they have internet and email.
Some villages deliberately distance themselves from any and all technology, but I am yet to experience this for myself.
Yeah.
For the most part,
I mean, otherwise you probably wouldn't even have this channel.
you'll find old school technology that's very prominent in villages. Old retro TV,
That's neat. That's kind of neat.
old radios, mini solar lights, and internet. Granted, it's oftentimes really slow though.
I'd imagine.
Talking a struggle to get a megabyte per second.
Oh lord, like dial up, like I don't want to have to imitate that one, the sound effects. You may or may not know what I'm talking about.
Kinda slow. It's no joke. What you'll notice though is the fact that it seems like everyone is like a decade behind. It's like a time capsule almost. Most people are using phones that came out literally 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's a.
And TVs from the early 2000s.
No, I'm pretty sure there are some parts of the U.S. that still rely on this technology, these older forms of technology. I know that some of the schools I used to go to still had like these large TVs that had like cassette players, among other things.
You'll find CDs and cassettes still laying in people's houses, and if you're lucky, you might just catch a glimpse of a VHS tape in
Oh my god, anyone remember VHS tapes? I think my family still has like a ton of VHS tapes, like somewhere in our garage.
living room. Everything from the decor to the
Oh, I just remember, don't forget a whole bunch of third-party brand whatevers. I don't know where I'm going with that. Like where you see some random cartoon character on a food truck.
aesthetics scream late 2000s, and while people are still up to date with all the important news like politics and even celebrity gossip,
Oh lord, let's
everything
go.
else is from at least 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And this isn't a bad thing either,
What's a meme that made its debut 5 years ago?
man. What would you need 100 megabytes per second for in the villages, or even the latest iPhone? Vanity
Yeah, you don't need that shit.
metrics here don't hold up much over there.
Yeah.
Functionality rules overall. And so
Yep, that's kind of how I am. When it comes to having things, I'm one of the... I've mentioned this multiple times on stream that I'm one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of guys. Even if it's like the latest and greatest technology of something that I own, like say one of my my phone. If there's like a better version of that phone that's hit the market, I'm not going to get rid of the phone that I currently have just so I can get that one. And you know why? Because it's still a good phone. It still does what it needs to. In fact, the phone that I'm using right now is powering my VTuber model, and I've dropped it many times, and not only is it still working, it's not cracked. There's not a single crack on it, so I won't be replacing it anytime soon. And even if I had to, there are ways to recover it.
to put it simply, man, rural Africa is a place that is misunderstood by the entire world at large.
Right.
And I just hope that this video has been able to shed a light to something that most people rarely ever get to explore.
No, we need more stories like
Also,
these.
if you enjoyed this video, man, subscribe, leave a like, and also follow me
Yeah, you guys should do
on
that.
Instagram. I post a lot of behind the scenes content over there, so
All right, that was no, that was very enlightening to say the least. I was expecting this to be a bit more of a meme type video, but you know,